In this video, I show you how to get amazing sounds on your guitar with chords you already know how to play. You're going to learn how to create incredible sounding music using open chords, but not as you know them. The way I get you to use open chords in this lesson will give you immediate results, bringing to your guitar playing a more unique and sophisticated sound. Hi, this is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net, and if you know your basic open chord shapes, and I'm assuming that you do, then the results of what I show you in this video will be immediate. By the end of this video, your chord progressions will sound more unique and more sophisticated. I'm going to present to you in this video several progressions and the way you would typically play these using open chords. You then will learn how to convert these progressions on your guitar into something that sounds so much better using the very thing you started with, open chords. This method is super simple and something you hear in songs quite often. Watch until the end of the video as I've created something for you that will provide you with more equally cool ways to play chord progressions on your guitar. So let's get into it. Okay, so as I said, this approach is really simple but really effective. So let's say we have a chord progression that goes something like this. We have an F, we have a G, followed by a C chord, and a D. Okay, so that's our chord progression, F, G, C, and D. So that sounds fine, we can play it like that of course, but what we're going to do here is we're going to take an open chord shape and we're going to move it up the fretboard to play each of those chords of that progression. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a C chord, okay, the C chord, and I'm going to move it up until it becomes an F chord. Okay, so here of course it's C, the root note is on the 5th string, so if I move it up so that my 3rd finger's at the 8th fret, that's the F note. And what I can do here is play that chord up in that position. But what's unique and different here is the open strings of the chord from the C here have not changed, right? I'm not barring anything, I'm not really taking that shape and moving it up as such in a bar type form. I'm just taking a shape, I'm leaving the open strings to be as they are, and I'm just moving it up here so that it becomes an F. And it's got like an open G and an E there, which are nice extensions to an F chord. So you get that nice, different sound with the open sound effect droning in with that F chord. And then I'm going to take the exact same chord shape and move it up 2 more frets. So it becomes a G chord, okay? And those open strings of G and E are still there. Okay, so we've got the F, we've got the F, the G. Then we had a C chord in our progression, so I can play it down here as a C and then move that up 2 frets. It becomes a D chord, so just moving it up 2 frets, and the whole time the open E and G strings in this case remain constant throughout all the chords and react in various ways, giving us that nice unique sound to the chord. So this that we had originally, C to D, okay, now can become this. Okay, you can do whatever you like. I mean, you might want to pick it, finger pick it. Okay, it's a really nice way to play that chord progression. I think I like to pick it better, this one. Okay, whatever you want to do though. I like to use my fingers typically. That's one approach that we could use to change that up a little bit, to make it more interesting. And in fact, you could have it where one person's playing the stock standard chords down here and the other one is playing something based off the C shape as you move it up and down the fretboard. So both parts can work together as well. Another way you could address the same chord progression, same sort of concept here, an E shape will work well, okay? The E chord shape moved up to find the chords of our progression here. So if I move the E up 1 fret, it becomes an F chord, okay, with open droning strings. This time it's the B and the E on top that are going to drone throughout. The next chord in the progression was G. So I just got to move that up from F, that shape, to G. And then I can take it further up so it becomes a C, which would be right up here at the 10th fret. And then the 12th fret is the D. So I'm calling them, you know, F, G, C, D. Technically they're going to have, you know, extensions attached to the names there. We won't go into all that detail here. You don't need to know what that is. You just get to experience the cool sounds, and that's all the effect of that droning constant open strings remaining in each chord. And you just got one shape here, an open chord shape, and you're just moving them up the fretboard to get other chords. You can combine these, right? So perhaps if you played like a C shape for the F and C shape for G, and then you went to the E shape for the C and the E shape for the D, and kept it sort of around the one area. That would sound very cool. And on the flip side, you could play your F down here with the E shape, your G with the E shape as well, and then go to your C and keep that for the D. Okay, it's a very cool sound. Okay, so here's another example for you. Here's the stock standard chord progression, right? We're gonna have an E chord, a D, an A, a G, back to the E chord. In fact, we're going to use the E chord shape for this progression, but I'm going to take this E and move it right up one octave. It's a really great sound up there. All the open strings are there from your open E down here, but the fretted notes have moved up one octave, so it's still an E chord. And we can play the E, then we can move it down to make it a D chord there at the 12th fret. Then we can move it down to the 7th fret. That's the E as an A chord at that point. And then the G we can catch as we return to E, this time down the octave. So we begin on this E and we end on this one. Okay, so it sounds like this. Which is a really cool sound. Now, if you wanted to drone the low E as like a pedal tone throughout that whole progression, you could do that. So obviously it sounds good with the E, but you could also, so you could drone it through and let it carry through the whole way. If you don't want the sound of that E outside of the E chord itself, when you go to the other shapes, just make sure that the well, there's a couple of ways, I guess. You could have your thumb just come over the top and block. I probably would use my second finger that's on the 5th string here to just touch the bottom string, I think. But either way, it sounds good with that low E in there if you like. Now we could also do that with the D chord shape, okay? So the D chord works really well too. Not so many open strings in the D. You're only going to have the open D string here, and that will be a pedal tone. Otherwise we wouldn't be using this open string approach if we just stuck with the top 3. That'd just be more the straight triad. So we could play this D as an E chord, which puts us at the 4th fret. We can play it as a D, of course. For an A, we've got to go up to the 9th fret, 9th and 10th frets, catch the G 2 frets lower, and back on the D. So we get this sort of thing. Okay, you can get that pedal sound if you want. If you don't want the pedal sound there, but you want an open string in there, you could do the same thing. We'll try this anyway, where you take the second finger off the top string, so you get an open 1st string droning throughout. So you get this sort of thing. Okay. I'm still getting some of the D there anyway, okay? But you could eliminate the D out of that if you wanted to. And again, this can create really nice secondary parts with someone else playing the solid standard chords behind you. Okay, so if you thought that last part was a little top heavy, well, it could be sitting on top of someone playing the bigger chord shapes. Okay, so one more example here. I'm going to have a chord progression that's made up of the A chord to a C to a D chord and back to the A. Okay, fine, sounds okay. Pretty stock standard open chord progression. But we can take the same concept here and get some really cool sounds, whether it's going to be its own thing or something to sit on top of that chord progression as someone else strums it out for you. So we could take the A shape itself and move it up through that chord progression. So we've got our A chord here. Okay, the next chord was C. So if I move it up, A sharp, B, C at the 5th fret, I get that nice open droning C chord now with the A shape. 2 frets higher gives me D, and then I can come back to A. Okay, so that would sound like this. One more time, so you go to the C, to the D, and back to the A. And I was pedaling again the open A string. So with this approach, if it's an open chord, you're going to move up the fretboard that in its open position, the root note is an open string, then you might pedal that tone as you move through, depending on what sound you want and how it sounds. But you can eliminate that out if you want. You can take that out by just strumming or picking from the 4th string, in this case with the A chord as you move it up. Okay, so there's ways around that if you don't want that particular sound. We could come back to the E chord shape again and use that to play this chord progression. So the E shape as an A means you've got to move it up to the 7th fret. The root note is on the 4th string for this chord, so I know that's an A, so I know that's going to be an A chord. And then I move it up 3 frets, and I get to my C chord, and I move it up 2 more, to my C, and back down to the A chord. Okay, we've got the A chord but the E shape, right? You've got the A chord to our C, to our D, back to the A. Okay, whereas before we were using the A shape, to the D, back to the A. So there's subtle differences there, even though you are hearing the same chord progression, of course. And if you want, you can pick these things out. Some sort of way or fashion, okay? If you like this video, then you'll love this ebook audio I've created for you called Awesome Acoustic Rhythm Techniques that will transform the way you play your guitar. In this ebook, I take you through one of the most common chord progressions in music. What's not so common are the approaches I show you that can be applied to this very chord progression. You learn how to use embellishments and extensions to decorate the progressions you play, much like a pianist would, resulting in very cool, unique and sophisticated sounding chord progressions. I also show you great ways to play rhythm fills that can punctuate the space between the chord changes of a progression. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook audio, Awesome Acoustic Rhythm Techniques that will transform the way you play your guitar. Let me know in the comments section what guitar topics you would like to see covered in future videos. I read every comment and I would love to hear your suggestions. If you like this video, then hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit the all-important notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I release a new video. This is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net. As always, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate your time very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.